Hello, my name is Tom Sapp Photography. We're going to be talking about diffraction photography today. Now, first let me explain a little bit diffraction versus refraction. With lenses, you have glass on the front, okay? And like when light travels through the air, it's linear, it travels in a line. It fades off over time, so it actually falls as it reaches its subject usually. At the starting point, closer to the light, it's going to be less power than it is at the very end of its distance that it's traveling. Now, while it's traveling, it can go through different points of optics. It can go through the air. It can go through glass. It can bounce off things. Now, when it bounces, it's a little bit different. We're going to talk about that in just a second. That's diffraction, whereas refraction is with glass lenses here. Once it goes through that hole and it separates, that's refraction. It's bending. The light is bending. Now, when it bounces off things, it's diffracting off of it. It's diffracting the light. So that is called diffraction. And what that does in terms of photography, you can use things like this. This is called a zone plate in front of your camera here. And this is in place of the glass. So you're going to be shooting through this. So the light bounces off the black. It has to be opaque. So when it bounces through these rings and goes off that opaque surface there, it bounces onto the sensor in the camera or the film. And it causes a certain look to the image. And that look, in my opinion, is a little bit soft focus. That's how I would describe it. It looks really pretty, though. It's kind of an angelic kind of look. Very peaceful, mystical, if you will. Now, to get this look in Photoshop, you can also do a couple other things. One of the things is using Gaussian Blur. Okay, you can actually add a lot of Gaussian blur, almost to the point where you can't see the image, and then you go up to edit and you fade that back, and that gives you a very similar look as diffraction photography. Now, it's not as good. Nothing is ever as good as it is if you do it inside the camera, in my opinion. That's an opinionated statement here. But I have found that, for instance, using aperture and blurring out backgrounds, things like that, it looks a lot better. And we're constantly trying as photographers to match on the computer what we do in the lens. Now, diffraction photography is very technical. These rings on the zone plate have to be a specific distance apart. And I downloaded this right off the internet. There's tons of websites online that talk about it. But there's mathematical formulas for calculating the lens that you want, such as, like, say, a 20 millimeter lens, versus how the distance in the rings have to be and the distance this has to be away from the camera. Okay, there's a lot of stuff that goes into this, very technical, but the result that you get is basically a soft focus, angelic looking image. So Tom Sapp Photography, thank you for listening.